The top 100 decks for the WCS are here. Hello, guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we're taking a look at the WCQ, WCS, the World Championship qualifiers, top 100 deck list. Now, not all of the deck lists are here, but I do want to discuss what we currently have, at least most knowledge of, which is the fact that, here's more or less some of the breakdown. I don't think it's all of the breakdown, but at least some of the stuff that we know was played. And we can see a lot of people were playing Fiendsmith, Snake Eye Fiendsmith in particular. Seemed like the best variant of pretty much anything, right? So that's pretty much expected, right? It's the best deck. It has been the best deck for a while. It's a known quantity. A lot of people are going to play it. However, what is interesting is the second most common deck being Crystron. Now, we'll talk about Crystron in a second, but this is a standout, and it's rather interesting to see that Crystron was as heavily represented as it was, but I'll explain again in a second. Next up, we have Blue Eyes. Again, a known quantity, but I really do think that this deck was kind of just like how Sprite was when Tearlament was the best deck. I think this is kind of similar in nature, where I don't necessarily think there's a reason to play this over any of the other decks, except for the fact that it's easier to play. So if you're just, and it wins faster, arguably, right? If you're like playing out a bunch of games and your brain is getting tired and you're getting fatigued and not able to keep up with all of the crazy grind, picking up Blue Eyes, not necessarily a bad option, right? Now, I don't think everyone did this, but I definitely have seen a lot of people who were playing Fiendsmith originally, or Snake Eye Fiendsmith in particular, and then switching to Blue Eyes. So that is something of note. But yeah, there you go. Blue Eyes, very, very good as well. Next up, we have Tenpai. Expected, right? It's a ladder event. A lot of people are going to be on Tenpai. There you go. There's Tenpai. Then we have Atlantean Mermail, which is just a big combo deck that wins going first and can play through with Engine going second, but also just dies to itself. So, there you go. Then we have Branded. 4 people apparently were on Branded. This is kind of expected. I don't necessarily expect these people to be the best players, but they are the most dedicated when it comes to Branded. I don't think Branded's all that good. I think this is just people who play Branded are mentally strong enough to do this to themselves. Thank you. Then we have things like Memento and Gimmick Puppet and Melodious. And okay, this Melodious, there is a deck that we'll talk about in a second that isn't Melodious, but this is what it's under. It's basically just a pen deck. Just think of this as Pendulum rather than Melodious. Then Ubel and Tyr and White Forest and Fiendsmith control, more specifically than Snake Eye Fiendsmith. But let's quickly scroll down, and we can see the number 1 player was Tatsuku again. Now, this is obviously just in Japan, but it also was the top player. We're just going to quickly scroll down. They were also the top player, number 1 in the whole world. Tatsuku, once again. And they were playing Crystron. What an interesting thing. So let's talk about Crystron, because one of the things that made it so powerful was the fact that it was able to utilize the very powerful cards of Millennium, which is pretty solid. On top of that, the Crystron deck itself is very strong if you are a better player. The better player you are, the stronger it gets, meaning that if you're able to just be better than your opponent, you're probably going to do better with something like this as opposed to something like Tenpai or Blue Eyes, where there's less skill expression, and it doesn't really matter how good you are at the game, just what you ended up drawing, right? So that's one of the big advantages to this. On top of this, the end board is very strong, and it doesn't necessarily lose to a lot of the common hand traps, that being the Bestials. This is one of the biggest reasons I think that this deck popped off as much as it did. If everyone is expecting Fiendsmith to be as prevalent as it was, and as dominant as everyone was kind of expecting, Bestials are almost like a mandatory expectation, right? People should be absolutely playing around that. And I think this is the deck that ended up doing that, right? This deck doesn't care at all about Bestials. Like, nothing in here cares about the Bestials. It has a very strong end board, which means going first, you're guaranteeing a lot more games more easily. It has a lot of room for non-engine, as you can see here. There's a lot of non-engine, right? but it also has the ability to play through boards fairly effectively due to the fact that each one of their cards doesn't really like lose too many of the common end board pieces, right? So a lot of the extension and stuff like that plays in a very different way from things that would normally lose to like Desiree or what have you. And also this trap is crazy. Clusters is a very, very solid card. But all of those kind of came together to make this a very, very solid pick for this meta. It's kind of a meta call, and it ended up performing fairly well. However, Tatsuku's already been invited. So the second place player in Game Endeavor / this name, which I'm not going to try and say it, ended up taking it, and of course they're playing Snake-Eye Fiendsmith. They're also playing 3 Oak, which is kind of silly. I don't see the reasoning behind this. I get the idea is like, oh, you summon it off of Zombie Vampire, or off of something like the Promethean Princess, and that is kind of the idea, is like, oh, you have more of your Snake-Eye engine with this, but I'm really not a fan of this. I think this is just a dead card. And the reason I say that is because Ray J, who actually ended up, or RJ, sorry, I keep saying Ray J, RJ, who came in first in Asia, ended up coming in second overall, which I'll show in a second, but they were just playing the 1 Oak and playing a very similar deck. It's not the exact same, but it's pretty much the exact same, and the big note is, or the big change is that they're only playing the 1 Oak. So, give and take, right? We have first place in North America was Joey Cho, which I do not know who that is, but they ended up coming in first with Blue Eyes. I don't know if they played any other decks, but they did play Blue Eyes, and we know that. Originally, I believe they were named Kaiba, so there's that. But overall, very standard list, nothing really of note in here, except for the fact that they're playing the Bingo Machine, which is fine. Moving on, we have LatAm, which was won by, it says player. This was Judy, you know who I'm talking about, the Brazilian, Jude Yu-Gi-Oh! They're really, really solid. They were playing Mermail. This is a pretty standard list as well, except for I'm lying to you because they're actually playing Sekka's Light alongside Called By as their only spell trap lineup, which is fairly interesting because, like, yeah, that's very solid, right? They're not really playing too many hand traps. They are playing things like Fool Lost Maxi and the 1 Nib, but they're also playing Gamma Seal, which is kind of interesting. And then Coelacanth is also being played in this. They're not playing the Barrier Statue, but they are playing Coelacanth. So there's that. Unless I'm just missing something. No Barrier Statue. Then we have the European players in Jonas as well as Quantal making it. Quantal ended up also playing the Mermail, also not playing the Barrier Statue, but also playing, of course, the Sekka's Light. And then this is just a 46 card version of the Snake-Eye Fiendsmith stuff. However, they're also playing the Kashtira package, which the other decks weren't. And that is it for the qualifiers. We've already seen Tatsuku's list. Here's RJ's as well. And then third is Gimlet, which I believe is... I believe they're Asian in that region of Asia, which so yeah, they were also playing Crystron. Pretty interesting there, right? The Sengajins and Millennium cards, pretty similar lists in general. So there's that. Here's the Snake-Eye we already saw. Here's the Blue Eyes we already saw. Here's another Snake-Eye Fiendsmith variant. Again, the 1 Oak. Very interesting. Here's Tenpai. Yep, top 7. Tenpai. It's not dead. It didn't go anywhere. Yeah, Tenpai still works. It's still very, very strong. Lots of like turn-ending hand traps in these guys. But notably, lots and lots of board breakers, right? Even playing Impulse, but also playing things like the 1 Red Reboot, Heavy Storm, Lightning Storm, Harpy's Feather Duster, lots and lots of backer removal. Because Konami hates trap cards. I don't know why. I really, really don't. Anyway, Sayer is here. This is the team that came in 4th, or like third, 4th combined. They ended up making it out of group stage last year at Worlds, and this player, which is just a face, I'm pretty sure that's what this is playing Memento. Memento's pretty good right now. Memento is fairly solid at just like playing through boards with engine. So oftentimes I mean, the only non-engine in here is Droplet. A lot of people are playing Super Poly as well. I think Super Poly is a little bit better in this environment. However, most of it is just engine, right? 3 maxi, 3 fuel loss, and then just engine. And that's pretty much it. Right. We can see, again, another Mermail player. Here's our first branded player, top 17. There you go. 52 card, grass branded. I don't think branded's actually good. But I do think that these players are very good at specifically branded and good at playing that deck in particular. However, apparently they're not good at deck building because 52 is just not a number that you should ever be playing. Don't care what you say about branded and it being special or what. Nope, 52 is dumb. That's just dumb. I really cannot express how silly that is. Anyway, moving on. We have another... Oh, this one is the Fiendsmith Control variant, which is basically just Fiendsmith Bestial, most notably including the 3 Baldrake and Druisworm, because these cards happen to pair very well with the rest of your engine, because Baldrake can just tribute a guy and then banish one of your opponent's monsters, and then Druisworm can be that guy tributed, which is very nice. We also have a few gimmick puppets in here. Here's a gimmick puppet list. It's nothing really interesting. Here we have another Blue Eyes. We have another Memento. Here's the tier limit list. It's pretty interesting, all things considered, at least for me. Most notably, the Kashira Unicorn package or I should say, the entire Kashira package is pretty much in here, right? Which is something of note. And then it is a nice 40 card list, and Pilgrim Reaper is the idea with the Fiendsmith stuff. So, kind of interesting. There's that. We have Yubel. This is the one Yubel list that we've seen as well. The main reason as to why Yubel isn't nearly as popular is just due to the fact that it's not nearly as... or it's not quite as strong. I still think that this deck is very good, but if you're going to play this, why not just play the Snake Eye variant of it? It's just arguably better. Not by a lot, but it is better, and I think that's the main reason. Yubel has a few more weaknesses, right? But can put up slightly stronger boards. And it really doesn't matter if you're going to be playing a combo deck like this. Why not just play the Snake Eye stuff? I think that this deck is still comparable. But yeah, that's pretty much what's happening. Here's another Crystron deck. This one actually playing the Horus engine instead of playing the Millennium stuff. Now, the reason for the Millennium stuff is that it just plays very well into non-engine. Or not non-engine. It plays very well into just like established boards and is able to break boards more efficiently. If we look at Gimlet's list, right, playing the Millennium stuff, you have access to the Zombie Vampire like previously, but you also have the ability to put things into the back row off of the golems, which is pretty nice. So you basically just generate additional advantage from that. Whereas, you know, if you were to get ashed on something like a Horus monster, sure, you could potentially put a Crystron into grave, but it is just a net negative, whereas this is kind of a net positive. On top of that, these also just, I mean, a 6 is not necessarily bad with the 7s that you have, as well as 8s and stuff like that. So there's a few other reasons why it's a little bit better. However, overall, the either Horus or the Millennium both basically work. The big upside to the Horus stuff is, of course, Baron. You can make Baron pretty easily. Anyway, we have another Crystron one playing the Millennium stuff. Pretty standard. Next up, we have ourselves the White Forest list, or the Azamina White Forest stuff. Pretty standard as well. Again, notable inclusion is the Kashtira engine, the basically full Kashtira engine. So, not bad, but yeah, 81st. More Crystron, very standard. One less Golem, one more Nib or something like that. And then here is the Melodious list, which is... Count how many Melodious cards are in here. Because let me tell you, it's not a lot. I think there's like 9. Let's see. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, I was right. Yeah. No, 9. There are 9 Melodious cards in this deck. There's 49 cards just in the main deck. So, anyway, very interesting, very silly. But this is, you know, Pendulum as expected. They barely made top 100, but yeah, there you go. That's pretty much it. Again, this will be updated as time goes on. I'll try to leave a link to this page on here. But yeah, that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy it. If you did, like us very much. So appreciate it. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.